Hey, welcome back. Happy New Year. It's cold. Just snowed this morning. That means it's fly tying time. And hopefully I'll have a few videos for you guys this winter. This is the first one. This is one that had been requested a few times. It's a ghost stonefly. It's created by Todd Cochran, mainly for fishing the Cascapedia, Quebec, Canada. It's a derivative of Lee Wolf's surface stonefly, but this is meant to be fished solely as a wet fly. And it's kind of an oddball pattern. My friends from overseas like to make fun of it, but it's a fish catcher, so it's worth tying. And you'll notice it's a little bit different than your average wet fly. It's got a parachute hackle like a dry fly. But let's get started. So I'm going to put a size 4 Sprite double in the vise. And you can tie this on a single hook, a double hook, either way. It's fine. And the first step is we're going to make our parachute post. Now, the original had used a straight pin, a metal pin, for the parachute. I have a few substitutions I like to do. I like to use monofilament. This is 40-pound mono. And what you're going to do is you're going to burn the end so it makes a molten ball of mono. And then you're going to press it against a hard, flat surface. So you get just a piece of mono sticking out. The trick to that is that you got to put it down exactly flat. Your hand can't move, or otherwise it's going to distort the end of the mono. So you want to put it down just flat. And if you're doing a bunch of these, just stick them all to the mono and let them stay there. And you can pluck them off as needed. Now the next step is a little yellow bead. And you put that onto the mono, and you get this. See the flat end of the mono, and the bead is in place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a pair of pliers, and we're going to flatten the mono out so it's not round anymore. And that'll lay on the hook shank a little bit better. So just flatten the mono. Leave the top round still. Okay, and then we're going to start the thread. I'm using white thread at first. We're going to put down a thread base for our parachute post. So it doesn't have to be too even. Down to about there and back. Just so it's not sitting on bare hook shank. Okay, now what I like to have is I like to have the end of the post sitting within the eye of the hook. And that's kind of my gauge as to how much of a post I'm going to want sticking up. You want to give yourself a little bit of leeway because there's going to be a bulky bump here from the wing. And you don't want too short of a post. So about that is right, I would say. Every time I do these videos, the dog barks like crazy and telemarketers call, so please excuse my dog. I'm going to trim the end of the post, and then I'm going to tie in a tip of oval silver tinsel. Now, as I said, this is a variation on the original. I used some substitute materials like the parachute post. The original doesn't have a tinsel tip. And the body on the original is made with floss, which is lacquered over. I like to use wool, so I have a few different things I like to do. It's not better or worse than the original, just different. And I have my reasons, which I'll explain. So we wind the tip back, pull it up through the prongs, and tie it down right next to the post. This mono post has a little bit of give to it. It's not as rigid as the pin, the metal pin. So it'll flex a bit upon impact. Now I like to take a length of green, fluorescent green, Danville nylon yarn. I use this for all sorts of flies. I don't even really use floss all that much anymore. Mainly wool. This wool is great color. It's nice and buggy. And when a fish chews on this fly, it kind of gets buggier and buggier. So that's why I like to use the wool. It's very durable. It absorbs water so this flies sink a little bit better. And just wrap a body of wool. Oops. I'm going to go almost all the way to the post, but not quite. We need a little room for our wing. Tie it off about there. Looks good. There goes the dog again. And I'm going to whip finish the thread here. And change to black. Now, the original wing, I believe, used black squirrel tail. I like to use Arctic fox or similar soft fur. So I'm going to cut a little piece of that. This is some fox. And comb out the underfur. Pull the tips out and make a wing a little bit longer than the bend. You know what I forgot to do is at this point I like to get the post sticking straight up. So I put a few wraps of thread in front of the post to stick the post up. You know, while we're doing it, we'll get the bead in place too. So let's wrap the thread all the way up. You're going to make a little thread bump below the bead, and that'll keep the bead from sliding down. And then you make a layer of thread on the post, just like you would on a parachute dry. Now the post is all set. I don't glue it down or anything. Now I split the wing over the post. So I just kind of cram it over. Give it one or two loose wraps, and then set the length of the wing by pulling on the butt ends. So about that is good. Then I'll cinch it down. Now what I have is these long butt ends, which I'll pull sort of tight, and I'm going to put a wrap over it in front of the post. And that'll make a smooth head. Like that. Now with one hand, pull the butts tight, and the other hand, cut them off. And you've got the base for your head now. Now the next step is white marabou. So I have a piece of white marabou, and I've cut the center out of the feather. And I'm going to do the same thing with this, kind of as we did with the fox. Helps to wet the marabou a bit. I'm going to tie a couple loose wraps over, and then I'm just going to pull it until I get to the length I want. Sorry, my light keeps going on and off. Like so. And I got a little topping of white marabou now, which I'll cinch down with a couple wraps. Take a wrap or two in front of the post. Same as the fox, so just hold the butt ends with one hand, trim with the other. Next step is flash, and for this we use lateral scale. It's the mini lateral scale. I'm not sure what it's called, if it's called micro scale or mini scale. It's the small lateral scale. I don't use very much. I just use one piece per side of the fly. So just two strands of flash. I'll tie one in on the near side, trim it to the length of the wing, and I'll tie one on the far side. Just a few wraps to hold that in place. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pre-make the head. So I'm going to wrap everything down and I'm going to build the head, because you kind of want this part to be finished by the time you get to the hackle, because the hackle is kind of going to get in the way of everything. So I'm just making everything black, coating everything with thread. You don't have to go too crazy. And now for the final step, which is the parachute hackle. So you can use grizzly, you can use silver badger. I'm going to use grizzly. Just prepare the feather. I just have the tip of a feather, and I'm going to tie the stem one tie down, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the thread around the base of the feather and up the post. I need to pull it back just a little. It doesn't really matter which side's facing up, but I usually put the concave side up, so the curved side is facing up, the dull side of the feather. I just wrap around the stem, and I trim off the butt end. Now, before I do this, let me just say there's two ways to finish this. We can tie the feather off in front of the post, or we can tie it off on the post itself. It's up to you how you want to do it. I think tying it off in front is a little bit easier. Tying it off on the post is a little bit cleaner. I'm probably going to tie it off in front. I've done it both ways. Either way is fine. So you take your hackle pliers and just wrap that feather around the post and down. So each wrap is just below the wrap before it. Whoops. Try that again. You don't have to go too crazy with too many wraps. Just enough to make a little parachute hackle. Now you pull everything back. Just grab everything. Let the hackle pliers dangle. Put a couple turns of thread in, and then like pull the hackle snug in the pliers and add pressure. It kind of helps to be able to use your other fingers, so you can do more than one task at a time with one hand. And then just a few wraps to snug it up. Trim off the tip. Trim off any errant feather bits that might be remaining. Sorry for the light again. And just cover it up. And you're ready to whip finish. So I use a whip finish tool for this, and I put it on, and I do the same thing as I did with the hackle. I just pull the hackle, all the hackle back out of the way, and take the wraps with my whip finisher while holding the hackle back so I don't trap any of the barbs. Take another one, 2, 3, 4, and trim the thread. You can muscle these feathers around as much as you want. They'll spring back. You can always put them back to place. And to finish the fly, I do the same thing. Get my head cement. You got to be a little careful with this step that you don't get cement all over everything. But just dip your needle in cement, pull the barbs back, and put the lacquer down. Just keeping the barbs somewhat out of the way of the cement. You can pull them around as much as you want. You can always make them go back to where they were originally. I got a few barbs on the bottom I'm going to trim. That's sometimes what happens when you tie it off in front of the post. When you tie the hackle off on the post, you don't get that happening. So normally I would let that dry, but for the purposes of the video I'll pull the hackle down. Might stick a bit to the lacquer, but that's okay. And there you go. Your finished Ghost Stonefly variation. Good luck with it. Thanks for watching.